Have you ever opened your fridge and paused not because something was missing, but because something just fell off? Maybe it was a faint, strange smell coming from a back. Maybe it was a jar or leftover you tucked away days ago, convinced you were keeping it fresh and safe. We've all done it, slid produce into the crisper, stashed jars in the corner thinking that cold automatically means healthy. But here's the surprising truth. Some of the very foods we refrigerate out of habit can actually become harmful. And for those of us over 60 with slower metabolisms and more delicate immune systems, these small mistakes can quietly chip away at our health, sometimes even raising the risk of serious illness, including cancer. This isn't about scaring you. It's about empowering you with knowledge. Today on Forever Health 247, we're uncovering 5 common foods you should never store in the fridge. One of them is probably sitting in your kitchen right now, and you've likely been refrigerating it for years without realizing the hidden danger. If you believe that growing older should bring wisdom, not worry, stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to take out of the fridge today, so every bite you eat supports, not sabotages your health. Let's start with a food that seems so innocent, the potato. Picture this: your neighbor, Mr. Harris, always plans ahead. One weekend, he boils a big batch of potatoes so he can use them for the week. He seals them in a container and pops them into the fridge, thinking he's saving time and keeping them fresh. A few days later, he fries them up for dinner. Not long after, he feels sluggish, a little nauseous, and blames it on getting older. But what's really happening is something almost no one talks about. When raw potatoes are stored in cold temperatures, their starches start converting into sugars. That might sound harmless, but when those chilled potatoes are later cooked, especially fried or roasted, those sugars react with amino acids to form acrylamide, a chemical linked in studies to certain cancers. And for older adults whose bodies are less efficient at flushing out toxins, the risk is even greater. That's not the only concern. Have you ever seen potatoes turn green or sprout tiny eyes? That's solanine, a natural toxin that, over time, can build up in the body and affect your health. The solution? Keep potatoes in a cool, dry, dark place like a pantry, never the fridge. And toss any that have sprouted or turned green. It might feel like a small change, but for anyone in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, these little choices matter more than you think. Now, let's move to something golden and sweet: honey. So many people believe that storing honey in the fridge will keep it fresh longer. I once visited a sweet lady named Mrs. Parker, 78 years old, known in the neighborhood for her soothing herbal teas. One afternoon, I noticed her struggling to scoop honey from a jar. It was thick, cloudy, and grainy. When I asked why she kept it in the fridge, she smiled and said, "I thought it would keep it good forever." Here's the truth: honey doesn't need the fridge. It's naturally antibacterial, antifungal. It can last indefinitely at room temperature if stored in a sealed jar away from sunlight. In fact, the cold can ruin it. Refrigeration speeds up the formation of a compound called HMF, hydroxymethylferrol, which in high amounts has been linked to potential cancer risk in animal studies. For older adults, every small exposure to harmful compounds matters. And the sad irony is that by refrigerating honey, we're damaging one of nature's most stable, healing foods. The fix is simple. Keep honey in a cupboard tightly sealed. If it crystallizes over time, just place the jar in warm water to bring back its smooth, golden texture. That way, you keep all its natural benefits intact. Now let's talk about something that seems like the ultimate health choice: bagged leafy greens. They look clean, fresh, and safe with labels like triple washed or ready to eat. Maybe it's baby spinach, kale, or a spring mix you grab to make salads easier. But here's the hidden risk: those sealed plastic bags can harbor dangerous bacteria, especially Listeria monocytogenes. Unlike most bacteria, Listeria can actually grow in your fridge's cold environment. You could be eating what you think is a healthy salad, but for someone over 60, that bacteria can cause far more than just a stomach ache. It can lead to sepsis, neurological problems, or worse. I remember a retired teacher, Mrs. Collins, who told me she lived on bagged spinach because it was so convenient. One week, she ended up with days of fever, weakness, and nausea all traced back to a contaminated bag of greens she thought was perfectly safe. So here's the better choice. Whenever possible, buy whole leafy greens, like a full head of lettuce or a bunch of fresh spinach. Wash them yourself, dry them well, and eat them within a day or two. If you must buy pre-washed greens, eat them quickly and always check the date. Let's talk about a food combination that feels wholesome but can be quietly dangerous: garlic and oil. Maybe you've made it yourself after seeing a recipe online. Fresh garlic cloves minced into olive oil, stored in a pretty jar, ready to drizzle over pasta or bread. It seems harmless, even healthy. But here's the real danger: when raw garlic is submerged in oil and stored in the fridge, it creates the perfect low-oxygen, moist environment for Clostridium botulinum bacteria to grow. This bacteria produces botulinum toxin, one of the most lethal substances known. A tiny amount can paralyze muscles, including the ones that control breathing. I once met a man named David, a lifelong home cook, who ended up in the hospital after eating garlic oil he had stored in the fridge for just a few days. There was no bad smell, no strange taste, nothing to warn him until it was too late. Here's the safe route. If you love garlic oil, buy commercially prepared versions that are shelf-stable, as they contain safeguards against bacteria. Or, if you make it at home, use it immediately within 24 hours or freeze it. Never let it linger in the fridge, thinking it's protected. Finally, let's talk about a food that almost every kitchen keeps in the fridge, yet it's one of the worst places for it to be. I'm talking about tomatoes. My Uncle Robert was a man of simple pleasures. Every morning, he'd have eggs with fresh tomato slices sprinkled with sea salt. In the summer, he'd bite into them like apples, juice dripping down his chin. And year-round, he stored them in the fridge. "Keeps them fresh," he'd say with a grin. But as time went on, he noticed something: the tomatoes didn't taste the same. They weren't bursting with flavor anymore. Instead, they had this dull, mealy texture, almost lifeless. That wasn't just his imagination. Cold temperatures are tough on tomatoes. When stored below about 55 degrees Fahrenheit, the chill damages their delicate cell walls, which is why they turn soft and grainy. But the real loss goes far deeper than taste or texture. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, a vibrant red antioxidant known for its role in supporting heart health, reducing inflammation, and even protecting against certain cancers, especially prostate cancer in men. Lycopene also supports healthy skin, helps regulate blood pressure, and promotes better circulation, all benefits that become even more important as we age. The problem? Refrigeration slows down, and in some cases stops, the natural enzymatic process that produces lycopene. Over time, the cold can actually reverse the ripening process, reducing both the flavor and the nutrient density of the fruit. So instead of getting the full, protective punch from your tomatoes, you end up with a weaker, less beneficial version. For older adults, losing those benefits matters. Lycopene is fat-soluble, which means our bodies store it, but we need regular replenishment to keep levels high enough to protect our cells. The difference between a sun-ripened tomato and a chilled one might seem small, but over years, that nutrient gap adds up. And when you're trying to support your heart, your immune system, and your energy levels, every bit counts. So what's the better way? Store your tomatoes on the counter, away from direct sunlight. Let them finish ripening naturally, so their flavor deepens and their nutrient profile peaks. If you want the biggest health payoff, eat them within a few days and pair them with a healthy fat like olive oil or avocado to help your body absorb all that lycopene. Uncle Robert didn't believe me at first when I told him to keep his tomatoes out of the fridge. But after just 1 week of letting them sit on the counter, he took a bite and his eyes lit up. "This," he said, "is what a tomato should taste like." And that taste came with a bonus: more nutrients for his body, more protection for his health, and more joy in every bite. Because at the end of the day, food should not just fill you, it should fuel you, heal you, and keep you strong for all the years ahead. Now that we've uncovered these 5 foods: potatoes, honey, bagged leafy greens, garlic and oil, and tomatoes, you might be looking at your fridge a little differently. And that's a good thing, because knowledge isn't just power, it's protection. For decades, Many of us have followed kitchen habits without a second thought. We kept potatoes in the fridge because we thought cold meant fresh. We chilled honey because we thought it would last longer. We trusted pre-washed greens without realizing bacteria could still grow in that sealed bag. We stored garlic in oil thinking it was harmless, not knowing it could turn toxic. And we put tomatoes in the crisper because it seemed logical. These habits didn't come from carelessness, they came from love. From parents and grandparents who wanted food to last, who did the best they could with the knowledge they had. But science has moved forward, and so must we. I remember visiting my grandmother's kitchen when I was younger. She had a small, humming fridge with potatoes in the drawer, a jar of honey on the top shelf, and a bag of spinach in the crisper. She'd smile and say, "This way, nothing goes bad." She believed she was protecting us. But looking back, I realized that if she'd known what we know now, she would have done things differently, not just to save food, but to save health. For those of us in our 60s, 70s, or 80s, or caring for loved ones who are these small adjustments matter more than ever. Our bodies process toxins more slowly. Our immune systems don't rebound as quickly. Recovery from illness takes longer. That means every decision in the kitchen has more weight. So here's your action plan. Move your potatoes to a cool, dark pantry. Keep your honey at room temperature in a sealed jar. Choose whole leafy greens and wash them yourself. If you make garlic oil, use it right away or freeze it. And let your tomatoes live on the counter, soaking up every bit of flavor and nutrition before they reach your plate. These aren't just kitchen tips, they're quiet, life-preserving choices. Each one is a signal to your body. I'm taking care of you. I'm protecting you. And every time you do, you're stacking the odds in your favor for a longer, stronger, more vibrant life. So, after you finish this, I want you to walk in your kitchen, open that fridge, and look at it with fresh eyes. Remove one of these 5 foods and store it the right way. That single step is a powerful act of self-care. And when you share this knowledge with your spouse, your children, your friends, you multiply its impact. You could be protecting someone else without even knowing it. Because the truth is, aging doesn't have to mean getting weaker. It can mean getting wiser, stronger, and more in control of your health than ever before. And it all starts with choices so small, you can make them today. So take that first step. Your future self and the people who love you will thank you.